Coming up in today's video, this is of course a conversation and hand review session with the one and only High Stakes Alex. He is one of the coaches who is going to be available for your viewing pleasure upon the launch of our subscription service at carrotcorner.com on Monday, April the 22nd. Absolutely pumped for that. But in this video, we don't just review some absolutely wild hands that he's played at high stakes, but we also discuss all-in EV, a concept that is very fresh in Alex's mind, having had a disastrous start to the year, running many buy-ins below all-in EV. How much does the yellow line matter? We're going to get Alex's take on this. We're going to get into some interesting hands. Every time I talk to this guy, I feel like my poker brain just grows. Hope you feel the same way as well. Let us know what you think in the comments of this format. Let's go. High Stakes Alex, aka Alex Pinheiro, is back on Carrot Corner. And this, Alex, was the first tweet you've ever made in your life. This graph, correct?
That's right.
How does it feel to have tweeted for the first time?
Well, it's good to have gotten some complaining out in public, finally.
I can see why you complained about this. Talk us through this graph. What is the time period and how are you feeling about this?
This is just my poker tracker. It's my tracked results online, sorted from the start of this year until the beginning of this month, April. So yeah, this is like January 1st to April 1st. So 3 months of play, and we're considerably below EV. But, you know, my life's pretty good, so I should shut up.
Yeah, it's not fashionable to whine on YouTube unless you're Easty or someone like that, I guess. I think this graph is kind of harrowing and shocking to a lot of people because this is a lot of buy-ins, and I know you play a lot of different stakes, Alex, right? So it's not clear exactly how many buy-ins below EV this is, but that's like, what, 45k below EV? Let's talk about what that actually means a little bit here, because I think there's a lot of confusion with this famous yellow line. So the yellow line is a measure of what your results would have been if every time you were all in, you won exactly the percentage you were meant to win of all of your all-ins, right? You realized exactly that share of the pot that your all-in equity described that you would. So I think one conception or misconception about the yellow line is that people call it the EV line. And from there, people come to the erroneous conclusion that the yellow line describes literally your EV in the game. But that's not really the case. How do you see the yellow line? How important is yellow line? And how can we improve our understanding of to what extent it matters in poker?
The yellow line is just a more accurate estimate of your win rate than the green line. The yellow line is just a way of representing your winnings with less variance. So what I sometimes tell people is that when you go on a win rate simulator, something like Prime Dope, where you can tell the computer to simulate a bunch of poker samples, you can tell it the number of hands to play, the true win rate that you want it to simulate, and so on. One of the settings it'll give you is standard deviation. By default, Prime Dope's is 100 BB per 100. It's a way of capturing how much variance there is in the game, how much variance your win rate experiences. And all in EV, how well you run when you're all in is one component of variance in your win rate. You can eliminate that component by looking at your yellow line. So that will reduce the standard deviation setting to 80 BB or something like that. So if you want to simulate a bunch of yellow lines, you can go into Prime Dope, change the setting from 100 to 80. And you can compare your own yellow line against the results of the simulations for a better idea of what your true win rate in the game is.
Yeah. So it's getting us part of the way there to eliminating variance, but nowhere near the whole way there. The example that always comes to my mind when I talk about this is the Galfond challenge, Fel Galfond heads up PLO, which has a standard deviation of something like 160 or something. It's like insane. Maybe it's even 180. You mentioned that No Limit 6 Max Cash is typically around 100 for the average standard deviation according to Prime Dope. It does depend on what game you're playing in and the volatility of that game, your stakes, your opponents, how often they're putting you to the test for stacks, that kind of thing. But at one point, Galfond was down like over 1 million. He was down like, I don't know, 55, 60 buy-ins or something like that in the game that they were playing. But he was down twice as much in all-in EV. But clearly he was running really bad to be down that much. Because even if he was a big dog in the match, that would have still been a massive outlier. So I think it's just important to understand that while this line is a better measure of your true expectation in the game, like your EV in the game, than the green line, it might only be, as you say, 20% better or something like that. What other lines are ghost lines, Alex, that exist here as specters that you can never see, as these kind of weird ethereal creatures? What variance lines are also present that are never depicted in Poker Tracker or Hold'em Manager? What kinds of variants are there in the game that aren't anything to do with All in EV?
Right. So all in EV explains 20% of the variance of six max cash win rate. So the other 80% has to come from somewhere, and it's coming from your card distribution, or what people call card distribution. So how many times did you run aces into kings or vice versa? You know, how many times did you get set up with a cooler in your favor or against your favor? How many times did you bluff and they happen to be holding the nuts, or you bluffed and they happen to be holding something they folded? Stuff like that.
Yep. I believe there's one other part of Poker Tracker where you can view your card distribution in the sense of how often you made really nutty hands. So, like, are you running good or bad with respect to flushes, straights, sets, that kind of thing. And that will again explain some small part of variance. But yeah, you're just never going to be able to encapsulate distributions like how often they were at the top of their range when you were bluffing them in the river. There's no line that's ever going to reflect that. And so I think the main takeaway here, to answer this question once and for all, the truth about All in EV, how much does this matter? It matters in the sense that you can reduce the amount of standard deviation and variance depicted in a graph by using yellow line instead of green line, but it doesn't tell you exactly what your EV is. Far from it. It's the minority of the variance in the game, because most hands just aren't to do with all-ins. Just ask yourself, how often do I actually get all-in? And do I feel like I just run completely average in all of the non-all-in situations? Evidently not, right? We run good in some, we run bad in others. With that said, let's move on to a more exciting, perhaps, project that is coming to Carrot Corner very soon. So Carrot Corner subscribers, and we are launching on April 22nd, Monday, April 22nd. That's the plan. If nothing goes wrong, we'll keep you updated. We are planning to give you a lot of structure, audience, in the subscription service. We don't want to just bombard you with random videos, coaches recording on a whim, whatever they want to do each day. That becomes a littered mess, and it becomes similar to browsing through YouTube or something like that, but with higher quality of content. But we want to organize things. We want a structured library. And one of the ideas we had is that instructors like you, Alex, are going to be recording series for Carrot Corner, and a few of you, yourself, Sebastian, Cruiser, a few of the top dogs of the training site, if you will, have embarked on sort of mini course creation. But this is all under the subscription umbrella. So what is the series that you're making for Carrot Corner, and why have you chosen to make it?
Pete and I have given it the flashy title of Aggress to Impress, 10 spots to improve your game with aggression. And I'm making it because weaker players are often weak because they don't aggress enough in spots where it's a little bit unintuitive. For example, when you face a small c-bet and you have to check raise a lot with hands that don't feel that good to check raise with, like medium strong top pair or random backdoor flush draw hands. Or you're not finding spots that are mandatory bluffs in theory and very good bluffs in reality, like river probe situations after you've called a c-bet, or river follow through spots, river like triple barrel follow through spots where flushes have completed, or things that are make your range strong. There are several other spots as well, and I'll be releasing a video series, or I'll be releasing one video for each spot that I want to talk about, and I'll try to include lots of practical advice in those videos. So things like actionable rules and heuristics that you can apply to your game and take from situation to situation, and hopefully that'll help you improve your play directly.
So yeah, loads of cool stuff coming your way, guys. Check the comment section for a direct link to our website, and the date is on there, April 22nd. That's a Monday. But let's get into some spots. So you brought these three hands to the table today. Any theme with these? I can see we got cold 4-bet here, so this is going to get wild with the pocket potatoes, but what's going on in these hands?
I'm pretty sure these are three aggressive hands in keeping with the theme of the video series I'm recording.
Yeah, it would be a little bit silly if you were like, hey guys, here's how to fix your game, crusade through the stakes via aggression, and then you just played like a massive net, and we're like, we're going to check back second set here because it's too scary. So I'm glad you didn't do that.
I pulled these hands out of my database like a few minutes before we recorded this, so I didn't look at them that closely. Maybe I end up knitting up in some of them. I don't actually know, but I'm pretty sure they're aggressive.
All right. So we get cold 4-bet. This is a reg.
Yes, yeah.
We peel the cold 4-bet. We get a board of 10 jack ace mono. What the hell is going on?
What is this flop?
It's like
Have you
that.
seen a more disgusting flop?
It's that shocked Chris moment from the stream where he's like, "What is this board?" Yeah, if you haven't seen shocked Chris on the vintage Carrot Corner streams, guys, you missed out. Those were the days. But yeah, like what is happening here from like a range versus range perspective? Like I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and it's just super confusing. I'm guessing the cold 4-better has some incredibly merged range here of like all different hand classes, basically, right?
Yeah. I mean the cold 4-better has like at the very weakest an ace or like kings.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those kings are gonna have a nut flush draw. Or like queens and stuff. Queens
Mm-hmm.
obviously there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just like an extremely strong range. I mean, our range is really strong too, obviously. Maybe stronger than his because we have tens, jacks, and aces at a higher density than him because we don't have like kings and ace king.
Not having ace king, kings, and queens is actually really nutting. There's a new word for you, chat. Nutting to your range. So you're the polar guy, relatively speaking, because you have nines and shit like that, and he might not in these positions. And then you have like a higher density of jacks, tens, king, queen suited by virtue of not having the dilutant queens, kings, and ace kings. So range dilutants are combos that make your range weaker because you'd rather they weren't in there. It's like when you pour like some juice and you use like the concentrate dilutant juice stuff and you don't put enough juice in and it's like mostly water with like a tinge of juice and it's pretty shit. That's kind of like what's going on here with his kings and queens. Looks like the right sizing given how you're much more polar than villain is. Maybe you can go a bit bigger here, but this seems like reasonable. Thoughts?
Very small sizings in small SPR mono boards is standard from the high quality regs that I play against and just from solver approved gameplay.
So we call with tens. Is there an impetus to build raises here, given that your range is by and large a bit more polarized than villains? You're going to have hands like the royal flush or the straight or I guess like the 4-5 of hearts or the pocket jacks at a higher concentrated frequency than villain is. Does that mean we want to play raise here as an option and not let villain just 10% pot with the more depolar range, or are we simplifying to call only?
Like with our hand? With our hand? Oh, with any hand in our range.
Yeah, like are you building a raising range? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, my own approach to these spots in game are to raise fairly aggressively against small bets because for theoretical reasons, facing a small bet is a merged range at a small size, which means that your value hands want to both increase the size of the pot and get money in now because against a merged range, you're going to be facing a lot of checks on later streets. And the board quality can deteriorate for tons of your hands because another heart could hit the board or like the board could pair if you've like got a flush right now with like 6-7 of hearts or something. Now, the SPR is very small because we're in a 4-bet pot. So that's going to be less true than normal, but still true enough to justify raising sometimes, I think. Now, with our exact hand, I would never raise because it would be too thin.
It's wild when bottom set is like a mediocre hand in a 4-bet pot, but texture matters.
When you think about what villain's range is, yeah, like you're getting beat by like kind of a lot.
Mm-hmm. And you're
yes,
never
you
like
still get value from like kings with a heart and ace king with the king of hearts and stuff like that, but
it won't be like thick value, right? Like when it's a two-tone board and you get a set in and you bet 3-bet the flop or something like that, like in a single raise pot with a set, like it makes a lot of sense because when villain continues, you're in really good shape there against hands that are just dead, like pairs and stuff like that, right? That they have to continue here.
Yeah.
Most of the hands that continue to erase either have you annihilated or are like drawing live against you. It's not like villain's going to bet call ace-5 of diamonds on this board. So makes sense. If the fourth heart does come as well, like I definitely think we do need to build a raising range here because the fourth heart is going to be pretty good for big blind, right? Because the kings and queens are then going to like suddenly become amazing hands rather than fairly crap hands. So that changes everything. Fourth heart is generally, well, fourth of any suit is generally better for the aggressor preflop.
And one last note about raising is that it performs very well in reality against tiny c-bets. We face a tiny barrel what's happening here. To tell you the truth, I have no idea how this player is playing this spot. I mean, this is a very understudied, rare kind of spot. So we're kind of in the Wild West. If I had to guess, I'd say this barrel doesn't discriminate virtually any hand in his range. Like,
Mhm.
I honestly, like, it looks to me like his entire range. I'm not saying he's barreling with range. That's not my guess of what he's doing. It's just that I don't think it gives any information about what he's holding practically at all.
That's a politically correct, non-discriminatory barrel that's not looking to oppress any minorities or anything like that. That's good. That's good.
Right.
That's what you want
I
in your
think right.
barrels.
I think every single hand in his range can barrel for this sizing and receive some benefits. Even hands like ace queen of spades.
Yeah,
Because
and
you're sometimes getting a fold from stuff that from like ace, I don't know, maybe like ace king of clubs or something, or like stuff that has a ton of equity against you. Like, I don't know.
it's so difficult to fold any hand in your range here against this, just because everything like has something going on, right? So it might even be one of these like the pot just grows by 20 big blinds almost always nodes. Like when this happens, it's just like what the theory is of this node. Like that's what happens. More money just goes in by everybody almost always. But yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiny size, super depolar, very non-discriminatory.
Yep. Okay, now the kings, but the king of hearts is the nuts. This is a absolutely chaotic run out. What on earth is happening here? Why would you bring me this hand at 9:22 on a Monday morning? And villain checks. Oh my god, I can kind of see the cogs turning in your head here. Oh man. All right, talk us through what's happening here, Alex.
Now I want to try to get him to fold aces or jacks. So I don't know. I mean, our hand is the worst. So I don't know. We're gonna win never, and this is the scariest run out of all time, and he just checked. So I'd like to bluff it.
Yeah.
Now, if you want a more sophisticated analysis of what's going on, I mean, I don't know if I ever have the King of Hearts.
Yeah, I don't see how you can have the king of hearts. I was about to say that. Like you have no royals, and maybe like you could have like the nine of hearts that called the flop because of the heart, maybe, and then called the turn because it's 10% and the heart, maybe. But other than that, it's kind of like, how has Alex got a value bettable hand here, especially for jam?
I have to have flatted Pocket Kings pre-flop. That's it.
Yeah, which is really weird. And if you have flatted kings pre-flop, I guess no one has any flushes now. Well, he doesn't really have any flushes at all. So
Yeah, or maybe I have aces, and I think you've never got a flush because you've just checked the river in a spot where you're never getting value from any bluffs in reality.
Mhm.
Except in this exact situation, maybe.
where you get tarped randomly. Spoiler alert, maybe I haven't seen the result of this hand. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not spoiling anything.
this is insane because like in normal theory terms, when you arrive on the river with the worst hand that you can have and you're checked to by the former aggressor, you kind of have a river blunder theorem, carrot poker school, like mandatory bluff thing, obviously. But I don't know, maybe this is just like very bad for your range. Like maybe villain's range here is mostly just jacks, tens, ace king. Like why would he jam the river with ace king here? But then, like, how does he fold it, given that you rep almost nothing better and it's like a value chopper? Do you know what? I'm not convinced that in reality, this is very good. Like, I know it looks like it should be a bluff. I just don't know if in reality there's actually enough fold equity, because I'm kind of wondering, okay, if villain did just, like, I don't know, play some silly hand this way, like ace five, you're going to win. Although I don't think that's happening. I think ace five has to bluff the river if it ever got here and probably wouldn't bet turn. But like, even if you have no showdown value, I'm just kind of looking at this and I'm thinking, wait, could he have ace queen? We just win against that as well, like ace queen suited? Maybe? God, I don't know, Alex. Like, I totally get it. It just looks like you should go all in. I'm definitely like, I'm bluffing here in game. But the more I look at this, the more I'm like, he could easily check a ton of king X and just never fold it. And like, you block tens and then like, so that's impossible. And then jacks might fold, but that's about the only hand. It just feels like one of these really thin spots in real life to bluff in, even though it looks like it should be a bluff from like a bird's eye view. Man, what a weird spot.
It's unbelievably weird. I mean, I think I've got a little bit more value from the like low flush region, as weird as that sounds, because or a natural combo for this line is going to be hands like 5-6 of hearts, 6-7 of hearts,
Yep.
7-8 of hearts.
Yep, for sure.
And
For
those
sure.
hands are strong enough to go for value on this river because one, in reality, my opinion is that the check is going to be pretty capping off of a royal. Low flushes, I think can go for value, and that maybe adds a little bit to the size of the value range we're repping. But yeah, like this is a spot where while it is very scary for the person facing the bet, number one, they maybe do sometimes just show up with a royal if I'm wrong on my read and they're checking like ace king with the king of hearts on this river or like kings with the king of hearts.
I mean, if we go back to this point in the hand, I don't think I've ever seen a spot before villain checks here where so much of a player's range is a royal flush.
No. At the same time, could you imagine having this hand in your database, getting all the way here, and then checking back the river? How
No.
unbelievable would that be? I think honestly, it's probably the right play.
I think you do have enough value bets for this to be like not an overbluff just because you decide to do it with tens. Obviously, this is played at, what's this, 500 NL? I know you play different stakes.
I don't remember.
This is 500. So I think at these stakes, like, yeah, okay, there's going to be people folding a king here. They're going to like try and play it in more of a balanced way. They're going to realize what's going on. If you are playing this at 25 NL against a recreational player or something, just maybe be a bit careful when you're trying to make villain fold really high absolute hand strength hands like straights on the river for this SPR.
Don't ever do this against a recreational player. The weakest hand they can have is like sets and two pair.
Right.
I don't. Yeah.
They're the type to go, man, what a cooler for my jack of diamonds, jack of clubs call. So be a bit careful with that. But anyway, the grand reveal is that we got called, so clearly we lost. And we got called by the Royal. Any bad beat jackpot here? Anything going on where villain gets to, or not bad beat jackpot, but does villain win like even more money by having it on this site, or no?
No.
Kind of sad.
This is just poker stars.
Yeah, you expect like 40,000 big blind payouts for Royal flushes, but it's only one card making it. This is pretty bad Royal. Like making a Royal with a pocket pair that's hearts, that's kind of disgusting, right? It's not the same as like the spade Royal flush where you're using the king jack and there's the ace queen 10 on the board. Poor Royal flush villain. 2 out of 10 for Royal flushes. You don't deserve to play the Royal flush making game. All right, ace queen, open, 3-bet, call.
Could
Jack
do
5-4.
either 4-bet or call, and then yeah, we get. Oh, this hand was kind of a dust off too. Gosh, well, I should not have brought these hands. Your all your viewers are going to be like, why would I subscribe to a service that has this guy as a coach? Okay, we face a c-bet. We've got 2 overs. We've got showdown value. That's enough to continue by a mile. Because the overcards are really high quality. When we turn a pair, we've got a really strong hand that can play for all the money. When we don't, we sometimes win. Actually, we win quite a decent amount.
And in these positions, we actually cooler villain more often, right? Because we hit like the ace against ace 7 suited that 3-bet or ace 9 or ace 10 or something, or we hit the queen and villain has queen 10 or something, or king queen. There's just king queen off. There's just a lot of like dominated overs in the opponent's range because it's a late position battle. So that's one reason why this hand is a call in later position, but not earlier position. You're actually dominating a bunch of villains' range, improving your implieds and also your equity above and beyond what would happen in an earlier position spot where this hand might be a fold. So configuration, very important to these kind of spots. King of diamonds on the turn. Villain bets again. This must be getting super close now, right?
Yeah, and if I had to guess, I'd say this is. I don't know what the solver's opinion would be on this, but my guess is it would be a fold. But who cares what the solver says? So I think in game, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a reg, by the way. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something of a dynamic going on. But yeah, I mean, it's a king overcard, and so I think he's probably permitted to just barrel his entire range. And then, like, we've got a hand that's got some cuspy showdown value against some parts of his range, and then a gutter and an overcard. So honestly, our hand doesn't look, now that I think about it, yeah, this doesn't look that bad as a call because we are still just beating the entire bluffing range. And then we have a lot more equity than when we've got a hand like pocket 7s or like pocket, whatever, pocket 10s or like, jack 9 suited.
Yeah. It looks like a break-even proposition to me against this sizing. I think against a smaller sizing, it's like a no-brainer call, and against bigger, it starts to maybe become a pure fold, but it's the showdown value component that really matters again, right? Like, because we're in a configuration where villains' bluffs are often very low EV against our hand, like there's stuff like ace 7 or ace 9 or something, they're like nearly dead. I think this is going to be a lot better than spots where villains' bluffs are actually like ace 4 and we're like losing against the bluff or something. Although that could be a thing here as well, obviously. But, if it's a small blind versus hijack spot, there'll be more ace 4, ace 5 bluffs and less ace 9 bluffs. That sort of thing, right, is what I'm thinking here.
Yeah,
but yeah.
well, one of the issue is that since the king is going to be barreled at such a high frequency, it's like
Hmm.
we're actually against a lot of the sort of depolar like Jack 10 barrels.
Yep.
So that's going to militate against that kind of reasoning, which says, well, we've got showdown value against the bluffing range,
Hmm.
and we've got extra equity compared to like a piece of the board. So this was a pretty good call. However, it's not like, like when we've got pocket nines is facing the exact same issue where it's just like, okay, well now a bunch of villains range is really strong and we've got a 2 out draw essentially.
Yeah.
But against the stronger parts of that range anyway. So yeah, I don't know.
So
But
because villain's more depolarized here, we might actually find that like nines and ace queen perform similarly. Like normally if villain was polarized, we'd way rather have ace queen because we beat bluffs anyway and have this nutted redraw. But, with villain
right, nines at
betting
least beats 5-6 or something.
exactly ace four, ace five, 5-6, all these bets, right? Okay, so we do call. Don't think that's too bad. And we face the river. Check. How high is the showdown value on this node, and is it low enough that this becomes one of our bluffs? Thoughts?
It's the showdown value is non-negligible because villain's going to get here and give up plausibly with like, I don't know, ace 7 or queen 10.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in reality, the fold equity we get from bluffing this line is more than the equity we get by showing down. I think in reality, this line is very underdefended. It's not meant to be defended very often in theory either, because it's a bet check line. Scattered aggression is meant to be underdefended. It's a give up line. So I'm not sure which line is preferred from the solver's perspective, but in reality, I would like to bluff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so spots where they go polarizing twice, or in this case, not so much on the king turn because they're betting a lot, but still they go aggressing twice. And then checking, the idea being that like the value hands don't want to slow play on that node versus what's mostly a condensed in position range that'll check back a lot with 8, 7s, 5, etc., jack, possibly, depending on the kicker. So they do want to just shove, and therefore when you don't shove, you are meant to be folding the vast majority of your range. That's the way it goes. You're not meant to be trying to hit MDF here as small blind. And then the question is like, yeah, like, is it more than that this is folded in real life or less? One thing I would actually say, just to like push back a little bit here, because my favorite thing to do is like fight the high stakes players on their logic and try and compete with them. So I'm going to say, what about the fact that people probably can go thinner than they realize for value on this river after going bet on the king turn, because like you don't have a ton of king x. So the only thing there could be that with some villains, they might put more of like the Jack X into the checking range than the jamming range, or the queens into the checking range and then the jamming range and then play check call. But then I think another cool point here could be, well, doesn't your range contain a decent amount of air on a run out like this? So you've called turn, it's mostly brick turn river. I don't know, I'm wondering whether from the solver's perspective, we should be checking back ace queen and realizing in order to kind of avoid overbluffing. But obviously that doesn't counteract your point that this could be overfolded in real life, right? That's more of a theoretical point.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I'd say probably solver checks back ace queen. Now, if but to your point about how there actually is a like of all the spots where the villain's out of position and it goes bet check, and then you've got a bluffing decision you've got a bluffing opportunity in the river. Of all those spots, this is actually one of the actually, now that I think about it, less appealing ones to bluff, because the king is a card that creates a lot of like natural high equity hands to continue with against a barrel on the turn
Mm-hmm.
for the in position player.
Mm-hmm.
So any gut shot ace queen 10 and then any backdoor diamond draw floats are all
Mm-hmm.
going to continue and then potentially have like a tantalizing bluff on this river node. So that actually makes check call not feel that bad for this villain, not nearly as bad as it normally feels.
Right.
Because normally what the villain is thinking when they've gone bet check is, well, the in position player has just filtered their range twice towards stuff that connects with the board, and showdown value doesn't like to bluff, and also that range is just really strong overall. So he's going to have lots of credible things to represent for value. So when he bets, that's just a really unattractive spot to bluff catch. But that's really actually not that true on this exact run out. So I'm sort of rethinking my initial sort of instinct about this hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Silver's probably going to check here. That'd be my guess. Maybe someone will post the sim and they'll prove us both wrong. But I think that's the case. I think there's just a lot of showdown value with this hand. And another thing I'm thinking here more exploitatively is people like to follow through on the river when the turn was a king in real life, right? So that probably just means that some of the natural air give ups, which do actually have to check fold river because their turn bet got called and the range advantage is there upon being exhausted, they might just follow through on river at too high of a frequency, especially if villain's aggressive, and that might leave their range a bit too deficient in the absolute air that could never dream of bluff catching. So yeah, really interesting spot. You can let us know what you think about that one in the comments, guys. We did go for the bluff. We did get snapped off here by the pocket sevens, which I actually think is fine. Like you said, Alex, it's easy for you to overbluff. That's 3-1. I think villain played this hand really well. I think we should probably check back here, but I totally think in game I may have thought the same way you did, and the instinct in these spots is always like, you know, just rinse them by bluffing wider than you should. Like, they're just not going to defend even as much as the solver does, even though the solver overfolds from a MDF standpoint. Yeah, fascinating hand. Let's do the last one. This is King 9 of spades. We 3-bet here. Get called by hijack.
Recreational. Yep.
Noted. Yep, c-bet flop, get called. Seems good.
Mandatory c-bet, by the way.
Yep, I like it against recreationals as well. I'm not a fan of checking back hopeless, semi-trashy hands and facing arbitrary turn leads. Okay, 6 of hearts turn. We go for the double here. Thoughts?
I don't actually have a strong opinion about this. Now, against, yeah, like, I think recreationals are, my sense is probably accidentally defending okay as a frequency, as a percentage of their range. 6 of hearts is not an especially scary turn, so I don't know, I'm not expecting this to be like a super high value spot to be bluffing a recreational in, but like, we've got an overcard, probably 2 against a large portion of their range, and you know, checking sucks, so betting doesn't have to be that good to justify doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion either. Like, I'm not excited by this. I'm also not looking at this like in a coaching session. If you were my student, there's no way I'm going to like pull up this spot and be like, no, absolutely not. You need more equity to bluff. I'm just not going to say that in this spot either. It can't be that bad. Probably close to 0 EV, as is checking. Both just a little bit better than mucking your hand, right? Which wouldn't be that bad a mistake. It would be a mistake, but it wouldn't be like a gigantic mistake to muck your hand here. Actually, it would be. It would be terrible. I'll shut up.
We're in position, yeah. So it wouldn't be great if we can backdoor a king or a 9 sometime.
Guys, chill. It wouldn't be that bad to just fold your hand to no bet. Like, it's probably fine. It'll keep you out of trouble. Yeah. Okay, I'm all in here. Like, screw this guy. I block king, queen of spades, queen 9 of spades. I unblock underpair. I unblock 4s and 5s. I unblock clubs and hearts. I'm all in. I don't even need to hear your thought process here, Alex. You're all in as well, right?
No, I checked back.
Of course, because this is a series about how to knit it up and clear bluff spots. Attaboy.
Okay,
Nice.
The main thing here is the 10. So the 10, I think, weakens the recreational's range significantly because he has a high concentration of pocket pairs, 7s through 9s, 5s and 4s as well, and then random low pieces of the board that he might have come along with, like, I don't know, 3-4 spades or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 6-5 of diamonds. I don't know.
Yeah.
So the 10 is just a card that scares a lot of those hands, and recreationals respond to scariness a lot. They also respond to demotions of their hand and absolute hand strength, and that makes them more likely to fold.
I love that quote. Recreationals respond to demotions of their hand and absolute hand strength, which are by and large monsters under the bed. But recreationals don't realize that. Okay, I have to say this, like, I always feel really inspired about poker when I talk to you, Alex. I always feel like poker's a logical game. With the right minds, you can get to the bottom of it, you can solve it. And I would just urge the audience to just listen to this again, just think about the way Alex talks about hands, the way the logic is just like not too assumptive, not too strong, but also like not too wishy-washy either. There's like a real good level of like sort of saying what we can know, what we can't, what we're capable of, what we're not. And I think we've got to the bottom of these hands insofar as we possibly could today pretty well. So I hope you'll join me for another one soon, Alex, and we'll do this again. You guys let us know. Do like the video if you like this sort of content, because I do look at those metrics and it does sort of encourage me to make different kinds of content in the future. I have a collab lined up for the next couple of weeks that I'm really excited about with a famous poker YouTuber, so stay tuned for that as well. And of course, don't forget the date. Save the date, April 22nd, Monday. That's when we're hoping to launch the subscriptions. More updates to follow. And yeah, thanks for joining us today, Alex. It was a lot of fun, and I hope that your year starts to even out in terms of all NEV, and you get that green line up to where the yellow line is currently crushing.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, yeah, it was fun to be on.
All
Yeah.
right, take it easy, guys. See you next time in Carrot Corner.